Dev had been the definition of the 2010s. During the rise of EDM popularity and party rock and anthems, Dev would be at the forefront showing off her skill with bangers such as Fly Like a G6, which gained worldwide success due to how catchy the track was, but also because of her vocal presence, even though G6 had been sampled from her actual track Booty Bounce, which had released a few months before. There's something about Dev's vocals that just can't be replicated, and it feels right with the 2010s EDM atmosphere. This would go on to give us other tracks like Bass Down Low, which, if you remember at the time, dubstep was also becoming popular and would be remixed by Proper Villains because of the production behind the original, which would also be featured in 2011's Wobbleland. Dev would be the shift that the industry needed to bring EDM into pop culture, but also to give a new ground that famous artists would use for years to come. She had been the inspiration to Rihanna, which you can hear in tracks like We Found Love. Dev would just be an unstoppable force in the 2010s that we can still see in music today. What would happen to this industry leader? And can Dev still be heard as the face of the 2010s? The 2010s had been a different era of music. Dubstep had just popped off under artists like Skrillex, and with singles such as Party Rock Anthem under LMFAO, the wave of EDM in pop culture had made its appearance. This new face of electronic music would be under forefront artist Dev, but I have to note that she wasn't the first if you take a look back into the 90s and how trance had radio play. However, the industry would take Dev's sound all the way into the 2020s. Dev's unique take on music had started in the late 2000s under MySpace, where she had made a diss track about her past relationship, which would catch the eye of producers The Cataracts, and the two would work together soon after. Now, if you don't know who The Cataracts are, they produced the 2010s electronic glitch hop and club sound that can be seen in artists today like Charlie XCX. What was interesting about the 2000s was MySpace, because it had so many artists that we have today that were just founded on that platform. Dev was no exception with her vocal skill and sound, which gave way to the next chapter in her life as a pop star, even though she claimed that she really wasn't a pop star. Under her newfound fame in 2009 and 2010, she would release hit after hit that would either be played on the radio 20 times a day or would be used in the bar and party scene. If you were a teen in the 2010s like I was, you will remember how important Fly Like a G6 had been when it released, because it was seen as the Let's Get Trashed anthem. The song itself even makes numerous references of that fact. This new sound that Dev would set forth inspired the next wave of pop culture and would ultimately change the industry forever. Dev would not only be seen as the next industry standard, but also as a leader of the next Far East movement with EDM and fashion. See what I did there with the needle drop? No? Okay. This success would give us tracks like In the Dark that had played a pun on sexual tension while dancing. Dev's foot in the industry would go on to push her next adventure, which was touring and being featured on some bangers of the mid-2010s. She would even go on to have a MTV special, which showcased how she lived and her life-changing event of having a baby that was high risk. I have to note that under the Cataracts, Dev would be used to showcase their producing skill. Her vocals are unmatched, but the beats behind Dev's success would be a combination of both parties. The Cataracts would give us that glitchy EDM vibe that would sit behind Dev's vocals. But it wasn't just how well these tracks would be bangers in the club, as it was Dev's appearance. Her success in the music industry also gave way to a fashion trend that pop culture would catch on to in the mid-2010s. If you were crushing on a girl with shorter hair, darker eyeshadow, and colorful clothing palettes in the 2010s, it was definitely because of Dev. Her hard work in the industry while also being a parent gave way to inspired artists that would use her sound in the 2010s. The sound you hear of 2010s pop and EDM was thanks to Dev's vision of being all she can be with her amazing vocals. There were so many artists that had switched genres during this time due to the success of tracks like Bass Down Low that would be played throughout clubs around the world. Artists like Rihanna in her little EDM era, or when will.i.am branched off to work with Justin Bieber under tracks like That Power. These all took the success of Dev and changed the industry industry. But it wasn't just the sound of Dev, as she would inspire the next wave in music of the 2020s. With her pun play and lyrical twist of a more adult party sexual vibe in each track that was still radio friendly, it would give us artists like Charli XCX with some of her tracks like Guess, which was featured in the 2025 Grammys. A lot of the EDM pop music that we have today ties back to Dev and what she set forth. Even Dev's fashion is out of this world and is still used in the industry today. Just take a look at Tate McRae and you will see the similarity with Dev. She would not only be a leader in the industry, but also gave a new direction or one direction into the future, making her an everlasting pop star of the 2010s. Today, Dev can still be found on Instagram modeling or doing live performances to promote some of her old works, but also some of her new. When I say new, she is still dropping singles with the Cataracts that harps on the 2010s fun that we all remember. And even though she is not pulling the same numbers that she once was due to life or focusing more on family, she is still a leading voice that EDM needed. I can see some of her new releases really making a comeback, mainly because of the production behind each track. It's just unique and it really shows how much effort she puts into each song. Everything that she has put out is really innovative, and even back in the 2010s, that sound that she has created for herself pushed the norm to what we hear today. The current mainstream of EDM and pop has become a little bland, and Dev being the forefront of its success will catch on because of her creative insight. Dev will always be the industry change that we all needed, and I highly suggest checking out some of her newer work because it still bangs with just how impressive her vocals are. She is still one of the hottest female artists in the industry, and it is no wonder why her career is fly like a G6.